My name is Clara Bennett. I was 30 years old when I learned that some betrayals do not arrive screaming. Sometimes they are already inside your house. Sometimes they are wearing your favorite sweater, drinking coffee from your mug, sleeping in the guest room you opened out of pity. And sometimes, when you finally see the truth, everyone else acts like you are the one who broke something. The Thursday I found them, I was not supposed to be home until 8. I worked as a fraud investigator, an AML analyst at a major bank, handling anti-money laundering cases and suspicious transaction reviews across the tri-state area. My job was simple in theory and exhausting in practice. Follow patterns, find lies, document everything before anyone could change the story. That particular Thursday, a vendor fraud case I had been building for 3 weeks collapsed under its own weight. The suspect's accounting records surfaced during discovery, and by 2 in the afternoon, my report was done. My manager signed off. I remember him saying, "Go home early, Clara. You earned it." I should have gone anywhere else. Instead, I stopped at the boutique on 5th Street. Adrian had slowed down in front of that shop every time we walked past. He always pretended he was only looking at the window display, but I knew better. There were these ridiculous candles inside, $38 each, vanilla and amber and something with a name like winter linen. As if anyone needed their living room to smell like expensive laundry. He wanted them, and I wanted to see him smile. That was the kind of woman I was then. Practical with everyone else. Foolish with the people I loved. The engagement ring was already paid for. The venue deposit, photographer, caterer, florist, honeymoon reservations, all of it had swallowed nearly $18,000 of my savings. 4 years with Adrian Cole had become contracts, calendars, seating charts, and whispered plans after midnight. I thought we were building a future. I did not know I was financing the stage where they performed their betrayal. When I pulled into the driveway, my older sister Vanessa's car was parked crooked near the garage. That was not unusual. Vanessa had been staying with us since January after losing her job at a boutique marketing firm. Her version involved an impossible boss, jealous coworkers, and unrealistic expectations. I never pushed too hard. Vanessa had always been dramatic, but she was still my sister. She needed help, so I gave her the guest room. No rent, no deadline, meals included, space to breathe. That was what family was supposed to do. At least, that was what I believed before Sunday. The house was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. Vanessa's heels were by the door. Adrian's jacket hung on the hook near the kitchen. His phone charger was plugged in beside the counter. His coffee mug sat in the sink, with a pale ring of foam drying at the bottom. But there was no television, no music, no voices. Then I heard it. Upstairs, from the master bedroom, a rhythm you recognize before your mind gives you permission to understand it. The headboard hitting the wall in a steady, ugly beat. The same headboard I had assembled myself over 2 weekends, because the instructions were in Swedish and half the screws did not fit. For a second, I stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding a paper bag with 2 stupid candles inside. Vanilla and amber. $38 each. Here's the thing about moments like that. In movies, people scream. They kick doors open. They throw things. They say something sharp and perfect. Real life is quieter. Real life is your body going cold while your brain becomes frighteningly clear, because falling apart gives other people control of the story. And I knew stories. I knew evidence. I knew what happened when someone guilty got enough time to prepare. So I walked upstairs, 1 step, then another. My heart was pounding so hard I felt it behind my eyes, but my hands were steady. The bedroom door was cracked open. They had not even bothered to close it all the way. Why would they? I was not supposed to be home for another 6 hours. I pushed the door open. Adrian moved first. He scrambled backwards so fast, he nearly fell off the bed. Vanessa grabbed the sheet with both hands and pulled it to her chest, like fabric could erase what I had already seen. My boyfriend, my sister, my bed, my sheets, my house. The room smelled like sweat, perfume, and the candle Adrian used to say gave him headaches when I lit it. "Clara," Adrian said. His voice broke on my name. I looked at Vanessa. Her mascara was smudged before she even started crying. "How long?" I asked. My voice did not sound like mine. It came out flat, controlled, almost bored. Adrian swallowed. Vanessa looked at him. That was the first knife, not the affair, not even the bed. It was the look. Even caught, even exposed, they had a silent language between them, a private conversation where I was still the outsider. That was when I knew. This was not new. This was not one terrible mistake. This was routine. How long, Adrian? Vanessa covered her mouth. Adrian closed his eyes. 6 months, he whispered. 6 months. Half a year. Since January. Since the month Vanessa moved into my guest room with 2 suitcases and swollen eyes and told me she did not know where else to go. Since the night I made pasta for all 3 of us and Adrian rubbed my shoulders while Vanessa cried into a napkin. Since I told her, stay as long as you need. My mind did the math automatically. 6 months of dinners I cooked. 6 months of mortgage payments. 6 months of Vanessa laughing at our table while her bare foot touched my boyfriend's under it. 6 months of Adrian kissing my forehead before work, then waiting for me to leave. 6 months of cake tastings, venue tours, guest lists, floral samples, and vows I had rewritten 3 times because I wanted them to be perfect. 6 months of him asking me whether I wanted children. 6 months of my sister telling me I looked tired and should take better care of myself. I set the boutique bag on the dresser. The candles knocked softly against each other inside. Vanessa flinched at the sound. Clara, she whispered, I can explain. I almost laughed, not because anything was funny, because explain was such a small word for what they had done. I turned around and walked out. No screaming, no slap, no shattered lamp, just my footsteps down the stairs. Past the kitchen where I had made them breakfast that morning. Past the living room where the 3 of us had watched movies like a family. Past the framed photo of Adrian and me at the beach, his arms around my waist, my face turned up toward him like he was the safest place I had ever known. I got into my car. Then I drove to the parking lot behind the public library. I sat there for 2 hours with my phone on silent while my life collapsed in a neat, organized pile around me. Then I got to work. First, I opened our joint banking app. 3 accounts: checking, savings, emergency fund. Total balance, $23,847. Half of that was mine. Money I earned, deposited, saved. I transferred exactly $11,923.50 into my personal account, the one Adrian could not access. Not a penny more. I was not stealing. I was protecting what was left. Then I took screenshots. Transaction history, grocery runs, utility bills, restaurant charges. Everything that showed I had been funding the house where they betrayed me. Then I checked the shared cloud account Adrian and I had set up when we first moved in together. His phone still synced to it. Notes, photos, emails. I did not expect to find much. I found everything in under 10 minutes. A note titled V with a heart emoji. Dated entries going back to January 14th. January 14th. Finally happened. Felt wrong, but also right. C doesn't suspect anything. My hands went numb. I kept reading. January 28th. We need to be more careful. C almost came home early. February 12th. Told V I love her. She said it back. March 3rd. C almost caught us today. Heart was pounding for an hour. This is so risky, but I can't stop. Then, the one that changed everything. March 22nd. V says we should tell C eventually. Not yet. Not until after the wedding. After the wedding. They were going to let me marry him. They were going to let me stand in front of 187 people, promise my life to a man who was sleeping with my sister, and then tell me, later, when the vows, the money, the photos, the legal mess, the public humiliation were already sealed around my throat. I screenshotted everything. His email was synced too. Nothing graphic. They were too careful for that. But there were messages. Miss you already. Tonight was perfect. We need to be more careful. Counting the minutes until Clara leaves for work. I saved all of it. By the time I finished, it was past 7. My phone showed 43 missed calls between Adrian, Vanessa, and my mother. 16 voicemails. 81 text messages. I did not open any of them. I drove to a Holiday Inn Express off the highway and paid cash for a week. The room smelled like industrial cleaner, recycled air, and other people's bad decisions. But it had a deadbolt. Nobody knew where I was. That counted for something. The family meeting happened Sunday at my mother's house. She called from Cassie's phone because I had already blocked everyone else. "Clara," she said, using the soft voice that always meant I was about to be managed. "We need to discuss this like adults. 2:00. Everyone will be there." I should have said no. I should have hung up, but some stupid part of me still believed blood meant something. I thought I would walk in and Vanessa would be packing her bags. I thought Adrian would be told to leave and never come back. I thought my mother would put her arms around me and say, "I am so sorry. You did not deserve this." I was wrong. The living room was arranged like an intervention. Mom sat in her armchair by the window, the one my father bought before he left. Cassie was on the love seat, arms crossed, already looking annoyed that her Sunday had been interrupted. Vanessa and Adrian sat on the main couch, together, close enough that their shoulders touched. They looked tired, pale, sad, like victims in their own story. The only empty seat was a dining chair pulled from the kitchen, placed directly in front of them, a defendant's chair. I stayed standing. "Clara," Mom said, "sit down." "I'll stand." Her mouth tightened. I looked at Adrian. "Why is he here?" Mom folded her hands in her lap. "Because he's part of this family. Or he was going to be." "No," I said. "He is the reason we're having this conversation." Adrian's eyes filled immediately. Vanessa leaned toward him, protective. That small movement told me everything about how this meeting was going to go. "Clara," Adrian said, voice shaking. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." Vanessa wiped her eyes with a tissue she already had ready. "We tried to fight it," she whispered. "We really did. But sometimes you can't help who you fall in love with." There it was, the performance, the trembling lips, the careful tears. The way Adrian lowered his head like a man crushed by fate instead of caught by evidence. "We're in love," Vanessa said. I stared at my sister. "You slept with my boyfriend for 6 months in my house." She flinched. Cassie sighed from the love seat. "Clara, don't be crude." I turned slowly. "Crude?" My voice cracked for the first time. "That's what concerns you right now? My word choice?" Mom stood and came toward me, wearing that disappointed expression I had spent my entire childhood trying to avoid. "Honey," she said, placing a hand on my arm. "I know you're hurt. Anyone would be. But Vanessa is your sister. Family forgives." I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. "You're taking their side." "There are no sides." "You're taking their side." Mom's eyes hardened. "If Adrian and Vanessa have genuine feelings for each other, then maybe it's better this happened before the wedding. Before you made a mistake you couldn't take back." For a moment, I could not breathe. This was the woman who called me her reliable daughter, her rock. The one who showed up, the one who helped her after Dad left, the one who co-signed her car loan when her credit was wrecked, the one who called every Sunday because good daughters did not let their mothers feel abandoned. And now she was looking at me like my heartbreak was an inconvenience. Adrian spoke softly. "I know the timing is terrible." "The timing?" My laugh came out sharp and broken. "You planned to tell me after the wedding." His face went pale. Vanessa looked away. Mom frowned. "What does that mean?" I pulled out my phone. Neither Adrian nor Vanessa moved. They already knew. I did not show the screenshots yet. Not because I was protecting them, because I finally understood something important. This room was not looking for truth. It was looking for a version of the truth that let them sleep at night. So I put my phone away. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. My voice went calm again. That deadly calm I used at work when a case was complete, and all that remained was consequences. "I'm going to walk out of here. You are all going to live with the choices you made today. And in about a week, everyone who received an invitation to that wedding is going to know exactly what happened." Mom's face changed. For the first time, she looked afraid. "Clara," she said, "don't do anything stupid." I looked at Vanessa, then Adrian, then my mother. I've been doing something stupid for years. No one spoke. Trusting you, I walked out. Nobody followed. Nobody called after me. Nobody said, "Wait, we were wrong." And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I did not cry when I left my mother's house. That part surprised me. I had expected tears, Rage. Something loud and uncontrollable that would match the way everything inside me had just been dismantled piece by piece in that living room. Instead, I felt organized, like my emotions had been filed away into folders labeled later. And what remained was the part of me that knew how to survive. By the time I got back to the hotel, it was already dark. My phone had started lighting up again the moment I unblocked it for 10 seconds to check something. Calls. Messages, voicemails stacking one over another like they could bury me into responding. I turned it face down on the table. Then I opened my laptop. If they wanted to rewrite the story, I would make sure the truth was documented first. Monday morning, I started treating my life like a fraud case, because that's what it was. A 6-month deception carried out in my own home, funded by my own accounts, enabled by people who were now calling it complicated. First step. Containment. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. It took under 30 minutes. I had done it before for clients. It was simple, efficient, clean. Next, separation. I opened a new checking account at a different bank, transferred the rest of my direct deposits, changed every password I had, banking, email, cloud storage, work access, streaming accounts, even the stupid grocery delivery app Adrian had once used because he said I worked too much to cook. Then I removed him from everything. No shared access, no backup keys, no lingering permissions he could use to slip back into my life like nothing had changed. By the time I was done, there was no version of me left that Adrian could reach without my consent. Tuesday morning, I called my real estate agent. "Clara?" he said, surprised. "Everything okay?" "No," I replied. "I need to list the house this week." There was a pause. "Are you sure? The market's strong, but..." "I'm sure." He did not ask any more questions after that. He had worked with me long enough to recognize that tone. By noon, he was at the house taking photos. While he was there, I had the locks changed. New deadbolt. New keypad system. Codes only I knew. If Vanessa or Adrian tried to come back, they would find out exactly how permanent betrayal could be. Wednesday morning, I drafted the eviction notice for Vanessa. 30 days.
Formal. Legal. Nil emotion.
Termination of verbal month-to-month tenancy. Requirement to vacate premises. Failure to comply may result in enforcement with sheriff escort. I printed it. Signed it. Sent it certified mail. Then I sat there, staring at her name on the envelope for a long time. Vanessa Bennett, my sister. The girl who used to braid my hair before school. The one who held my hand when I was scared of thunderstorms. The one who cried with me the night our father left. 6 months. That was how long it took her to become a stranger. Wednesday night was wedding logistics. That part hurt more than I expected. Not because of Adrian, but because of the version of me that had believed in all of it. I called the venue first. "My name is Clara Bennett," I said. "I'm calling about the reservation for October 14th? "Yes, Miss Bennett," the coordinator replied warmly. "Everything is still on track. We're finalizing. I'm canceling the wedding." Silence. Then softer, careful. "I'm so sorry to hear that. May I ask why?" "No." Another pause. "Of course. We'll process the cancellation. Just to confirm, you understand the deposit is non-refundable?" "I understand." $8,400 gone. Just like that. Strangely, it didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. Money was easy to replace. Trust wasn't. By the time I finished with the photographer, caterer, florist, and DJ, I had a paper trail long enough to satisfy any audit. Every cancellation confirmed in writing. Every contract closed. Every tie to that future cut cleanly. I was almost done when my phone lit up again. Vanessa. 17 missed calls. Then a message. "When can I come get my things?" I stared at the screen. Then I typed back. "Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m. Supervised." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, "Clara, please." I blocked her. That was the last conversation we would have that sounded like sisters. Thursday morning, the house went on the market. By Thursday afternoon, Adrian showed up. I wasn't inside. I was sitting 3 blocks away in my car, watching the security camera feed on my phone. He knocked first, then harder. Then he started calling my name. "Clara, please, just open the door." He tried his key. It didn't work. He stood there for a second, confused, then angry, then desperate. He called me once, twice, 16 times in a row. I let every call go to voicemail. On the screen, I watched him run a hand through his hair, pacing on the porch like he could wear a hole into the wood if he moved enough. Finally, he kicked the door. Not hard enough to break anything, just enough to leave a mark. That told me everything I needed to know about him. Even now, he thought he was entitled to something.
To access.
To forgiveness. To me. Eventually, he left, and I stayed exactly where I was, 3 blocks away.
Untouchable.
Friday morning, I went back to the house to collect the last of my things. Clothes. Documents. A few personal items that still felt like mine. I was carrying a box to my car when a familiar truck pulled into the driveway. Vanessa. Of course. She got out before the engine even stopped running. "Clara," she said, breathless. "We need to talk." "No," I replied. She moved closer anyway. "Just 5 minutes. Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." Her eyes filled with tears instantly. She was good at that. "I'm your sister," she said. "We're family." That word again. Family. As if saying it enough times could erase what she had done. "That's exactly why we don't need to talk," I said. She flinched. "Clara, please," she whispered. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't plan it." I looked at her, really looked, at the trembling lips, the damp lashes, the way her hands twisted together like she was holding herself together with force. Then I remembered the note. "Not until after the wedding. You planned enough," I said quietly. She froze. "What?" "You planned enough." Her face went pale. "Adrian told you." "I don't need Adrian to tell me anything." I set the box in the back seat of my car, closed the door. Then I turned back to her. "The emails go out tomorrow at 9 a.m. She blinked. "What emails?" "Every guest. Every family member, every person who was supposed to sit in that room and watch me marry him." Her breathing picked up. "Clara, you can't do that." "I already have. You'll ruin us." "No," I said calmly. "You ruined yourselves." She shook her head, stepping closer. "Think about Mom. Think about Cassie. Think about how this will look." I almost laughed. "How it will look?" I repeated. "For 6 months, you were sleeping with my boyfriend, in my house, in my bed, while I was paying your bills." Her lips parted, but no words came out. "And you're worried about how it looks?" "Clara, I'm done protecting you." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. The distance between us felt final. "Saturday," I said, 2 to 4. "Bring someone if you want. I'll have the non-emergency sheriff line ready." Her face crumpled. "Clara, please, we can fix this." I opened my car door. "No," I said. Then I got in, started the engine, and for the first time since Thursday, I felt something close to peace. Not because anything was better, but because I had stopped pretending it could be. I drove away without looking in the mirror, because I already knew what I would see. Someone I used to love, standing in the driveway of a house that no longer belonged to her. Saturday morning, 8:57 a.m. I was sitting on the edge of the hotel bed with my laptop open, my finger hovering over the trackpad. The email was already drafted. Subject line: wedding cancellation. Clara Bennett and Adrian Cole. 4 paragraphs. No insults. No emotion. No exaggeration. Just facts.
Clear. Documented. Verifiable.
I had rewritten it 3 times, not to soften it, but to remove anything they could twist. Every sentence was something I could prove. Screenshots saved. Dates aligned. Language neutral. That was the difference between reacting and building a case. I wasn't reacting anymore. I clicked send at exactly 9 a.m. 187 recipients. Then I sat there, waiting. It didn't take long. By 9:07, my phone started vibrating across the nightstand. Calls, messages, notifications stacking so fast the screen couldn't keep up. I ignored all of them. At 9:30, I sent the second email. This one went to the wedding party. Bridesmaids, groomsmen, people who had spent money, time, and trust on something that no longer existed.
Same tone.
Same facts, with one additional line. For further clarification or questions regarding refunds, please contact Adrian Cole or Vanessa Bennett directly. I pushed responsibility exactly where it belonged. Then I shut my phone off.
Completely.
No vibration. No sound. No access. And I left. I drove for 3 hours without a destination. Back roads, empty highways, small towns where nobody knew my name, places where I wasn't the woman whose fiancé slept with her sister, places where I was just a person passing through. When I finally turned my phone back on near sunset, the damage had already spread. 94 unread messages, 67 missed calls, voicemails stacked like accusations. The responses broke exactly the way I expected. People who knew me, really knew me, sent simple messages. "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. If you need anything, I'm here." Strangers, plus ones, distant relatives, co-workers of co-workers, sent confusion. "What happened? Is this real? Do we still have hotel reservations?" And then there was my family.
Demanding. Angry.
Panicked. My mother left 3 voicemails. I listened to the last one. "Clara, what have you done?" she said, her voice tight with something that sounded less like concern and more like embarrassment. "Everyone is calling me. Everyone. How could you humiliate your sister like this?" I replayed that sentence twice. Then I saved it. Because it mattered. Because it proved something I had already begun to understand. This had never been about what Vanessa and Adrian did. It was about how it made the family look. And I had just taken control of that narrative. The fallout didn't take weeks. It took hours. By Monday afternoon, consequences started landing. Adrian worked in sales. High-value contracts, relationship-driven. Reputation mattered more than numbers. Word spread fast. First among coworkers, then among clients. People who had once trusted him started asking questions, quiet ones at first, then louder. Requests for different representatives. Canceled meetings. Maybe we'll circle back next quarter. He didn't lose his job immediately. That would have been too simple. Instead, his pipeline dried up, slowly. Painfully. The kind of damage that doesn't explode. It suffocates. Vanessa's situation shifted differently. She had taken a temporary position at a dental practice while she figured out her next move. By Tuesday, the practice owner had heard enough through mutual connections. She wasn't fired. That would have created legal problems. But she was moved. Different location. 45 minutes away. Reduced hours. Less patient interaction. Less visibility. A quiet demotion wrapped in professional language. Within 3 weeks, she quit. That was the thing about truth. You only had to say it once. Everything else followed on its own. The house sold in 11 days. Cash offer. $8,000 under asking. I accepted immediately. I didn't negotiate. I didn't hesitate. I just signed. Because I didn't want that house anymore. Not the walls. Not the memories. Not the kitchen where I had cooked for them. Not the bedroom where they had rewritten my life behind my back. Before closing, I handled the last pieces. 2 small claims filings. One against Vanessa. 6 months of unpaid living expenses. Fair market value for the guest room. Utilities calculated conservatively. Total $1,800. The second against Adrian. Half of the shared wedding expenses he had committed to. Deposits. Contracts. Documented payments. Total $4,200. I filed both the same day. Paid for professional service. Had them served at their workplaces. Vanessa received hers at the dental office during lunch. Adrian got his in the middle of the showroom floor.
Public. Visible. Unavoidable.
Not revenge.
Process.
Consequences delivered through the same systems they thought would never touch them. The court dates were scheduled 2 months out. I didn't care if I won. The documentation was strong enough that I probably would. But winning wasn't the point. The point was permanence. Records. Paper trails. Their names attached to something that wouldn't disappear just because time passed. That Wednesday, I made one more call. My boss picked up on the second ring. "Clara," he said. "Everything okay?" "No," I replied. "But I need to know something." "Go ahead." "The Portland position you mentioned last year. Is it still available?" There was a pause. "Regional operations coordinator now," he said. "Bigger role. More responsibility." "I'll take it." "You're serious?" "Yes." "When can you be here?" I looked around the hotel room, at the suitcase on the floor, at the life I had already packed down to what I could carry. 3 weeks. Another pause. Then, I'll make it happen. I hung up. And for the first time since Thursday, I felt something shift. Not relief, not happiness, but direction. Leaving wasn't running away. It was the only way forward. The harassment started almost immediately after. First my aunt, then a cousin, then people I barely remembered. All of them with the same script. Family forgives. Vanessa is suffering. Adrian is falling apart. You need to let this go. I documented every message, every call, every voicemail, dates, times, names. Then I drafted a cease and desist letter. Not from a lawyer. I couldn't afford one. But I found a template, customized it, printed it on clean, professional letterhead, cited harassment statutes, included a list of contact attempts, ended with one line. Further unwanted contact will result in a restraining order filing and formal documentation with local law enforcement. I sent it certified mail to my mother's house, with instructions to forward it to anyone who needed to see it. The calls stopped, not because they understood, but because I had made it inconvenient to continue. The move cost almost everything I had left. $1,700 for the truck, $800 in gas, first month's rent and security deposit on a studio apartment I found online. By the time I was done, my savings account showed just over $1,100. But when I stood in that empty apartment in Portland, keys in my hand, I realized something important. Nobody here knew me. Nobody knew Vanessa. Nobody knew Adrian. Nobody knew the version of my life that had collapsed. I was anonymous, and anonymous felt like freedom. Portland didn't fix me. It just gave me space where nothing else was broken. The first few weeks felt like living inside a quiet pause. No calls, no familiar streets, no shared memories waiting around corners. Just a studio apartment with thin walls, a mattress on the floor, and a kitchen that echoed when I moved. I worked. That became my anchor. I showed up early, stayed late, took on cases nobody wanted, the messy ones, the complicated ones, the ones with too many variables and not enough clean answers. Fraud didn't scare me anymore. It felt familiar. Patterns, lies, motives, things I understood now in ways I hadn't before. Within 8 months, I was promoted. Operations manager, 15% raise. A small team reporting to me. I didn't celebrate. I just asked my boss what it would take to get the next one, because moving forward was easier than standing still. 13 months after I arrived, I met Marcus Hale. It was at a coworker's birthday party I almost didn't attend. I remember standing near the kitchen counter, holding a drink I hadn't touched, mentally calculating how long I had to stay before leaving without being rude. Then he walked over. "Do you always look like you're solving a crime at parties?" he asked. I glanced at him. "Only when I am," I said. He smiled, not forced, not curious in a way that felt invasive, just easy. Marcus was a veterinary technician at an animal hospital in Southeast Portland. He spent his days handling scared animals and anxious owners. There was a calmness to him, the kind that didn't need attention to exist. We talked for 3 hours, about nothing important. Music, movies, hiking trails. Whether pineapple belonged on pizza. His answer was absolutely not, and he was prepared to argue it like it mattered. When I walked him to his car, he handed me his number. No pressure, no expectation, just a quiet, "If you ever want to continue this conversation." Our first date was a week later. A small Thai restaurant in the Pearl District. He ordered the spiciest dish on the menu without hesitation. Didn't flinch when it arrived. I watched him for a moment, then asked, "So what's your story, Marcus?" He shrugged. "Nothing dramatic. Grew up here. Like animals more than people most days. Decided that was a career path." "Fair," I said. Then he looked at me. Really looked. "What about you?" he asked. People don't usually move across the country for no reason. I could have lied. I could have given him the version that sounded clean and respectable. Career growth. New opportunities. Fresh start. All technically true. All completely meaningless. Instead, I said, "You sure you want the real answer?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes." So I told him. Not every detail. Not at first, but enough. The discovery. The family meeting, the emails, the lawsuits, the move. I watched his face the entire time, waiting for judgment. For discomfort, for that subtle shift people make when they decide your story is too much. It never came. When I finished, he reached across the table. Not dramatically, not like he was trying to fix anything. He just placed his hand over mine. They sound like people who made choices, he said quietly. I blinked. That's it? I asked. What else is there? I didn't answer. Because for the first time, someone wasn't trying to explain my pain away. He wasn't asking me to forgive. He wasn't asking me to understand. He wasn't trying to make it smaller. He was just there. We started seeing each other after that, slowly. Carefully. No rushing. No assumptions. Just time. 18 months after I left, the past started knocking again. Not directly. Not at first. Through other people. Old classmates.
Distant cousins.
Facebook messages from names I barely remembered. Your sister says you won't answer her calls. Don't you think it's time to move on? Vanessa's been really struggling. I ignored all of them. Blocked.
Documented.
Moved on. Then they tried something else. The health card. A text from my uncle. A number I hadn't thought to block. Your mom has early stage breast cancer. Stage 1. Treatable. She's asking for you. I stared at the message for a long time. 3 days. I didn't respond. I didn't react. I just sat with it. Then I called Marcus. We talked through it piece by piece, not emotionally.
Logically.
Did your mom ask for you directly? He asked. No. Who contacted you? My uncle. Who told him to? I exhaled slowly. Cassie? He nodded. Then it's the same pattern, he said. They're still managing you, just using different leverage. I leaned back in my chair. He wasn't wrong. They weren't reaching out to reconnect. They were trying to pull me back into the same system, the same expectations, the same version of family where my role was to absorb everything and keep things stable. I picked up my phone, typed one message. Tell Mom I hope her treatment goes well. I'm not coming back. His reply came quickly. She'll be devastated. I didn't respond. Later, I saw photos online. My mother smiling in a hospital bed. Cassie posting updates about family strength and sticking together through hard times. No mention of me. That was fine. I wasn't part of that story anymore. Around month 20, Adrian found my new email. I recognized his writing immediately. Careful. Measured. Positioning himself as someone who had learned something. Clara, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I read the whole thing. He said he and Vanessa had broken up, called it a mistake, said he had thrown away the best thing he ever had, said he wasn't asking for another chance, just wanted me to know he understood what he lost. I read it twice, not because it mattered, but because I wanted to understand it. Then I noticed something. He never said what he did, not directly. He never described the betrayal, never acknowledged the 6 months, the planning, the intent. He just described the outcome, what he lost, not what he chose. I blocked him. No reply, no closure. Just gone. 2 months later, things escalated. A coworker mentioned someone had been asking about me at a cafe downtown. A woman, dark hair. Familiar description. Old friend trying to reconnect, she had said. Asking where I worked, where I lived, whether I was seeing anyone. Vanessa. Of course, I didn't panic. I adjusted. Updated the locks on my apartment to a keypad system. Changed my routines. Different routes to work. Different grocery store. Different gym schedule. And I documented everything. Every sighting. Every question. Every attempt. Then came the email. Anonymous, sent to my work address, CC'd to my entire department. My boss, upper management. You all should know, Clara is not who she claims to be. It went on.
Accusations. Vague.
Carefully worded to sound serious, without saying anything provable. She destroyed her own family. She drove her ex to a breakdown. She abandoned her sick mother. No name. No details, just enough to plant doubt. I forwarded it to HR within an hour. Attached everything.
Timeline.
Screenshots. Documentation. The cease and desist letter. The pattern. They launched an investigation. Tracked the IP. Public Wi-Fi. Coffee shop. Same city Vanessa was living in. Not definitive, but enough. Enough to see the shape of it. I didn't wait. I hired a paralegal service online. $180. Professional cease and desist letter. Citing harassment statutes. documenting the pattern. Sent it certified mail to Vanessa's current address. Took me 20 minutes to find it through public records. Then I filed a police report in her jurisdiction. Not to press charges, just to create a record. A timestamp. A trail. Something official that said, "This is happening." The emails stopped, but I didn't stop preparing. I updated everything. My will. Emergency contacts.
Beneficiaries.
Every account. Every form. Every place where my life still had an empty line that used to belong to someone else. I filled them with Marcus. Every last piece of my future pointed forward. No space left for the past to slip back in. I was done looking back. 3 years later, my life looked nothing like the one I lost. And that was the point. Marcus and I had been married for 6 months. Not a grand wedding. No 187 guests. No gold script invitations or expensive centerpieces. Just a small ceremony in a quiet garden, surrounded by people who actually showed up for us. His family, a few close friends, people who didn't need to be convinced to stand on our side. No performance, no pretending, just truth. Our daughter, Lily, was 3 months old. She had Marcus's eyes, calm, steady, and my stubborn refusal to sleep on schedule. She would grip my finger with tiny, determined hands, like she already knew exactly what she wanted from the world. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to hold everything together. I was just living in it. Work had settled into something solid. I had been promoted twice. Regional Operations Director now. A corner office overlooking the Willamette River. A team that trusted me. A salary that didn't make headlines, but made life feel stable. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood. Not because we needed to prove anything, but because we wanted something that was ours. Clean, unshared, untouched by anyone who had ever tried to rewrite our story. I thought that was the end of it. I thought distance, time, and silence had done their job. I was wrong. The final piece didn't come from me. It came from Adrian, or, more accurately, from the fact that he couldn't leave things alone. I learned about it by accident. Thanksgiving dinner at Marcus's parents' house. Warm lighting. Too much food. Conversations overlapping in that comfortable way families have when they actually like each other. Marcus's uncle sat across from me. He was on the state dental board. At some point, the conversation drifted toward work. "We had an interesting case recently," he said casually. "Had to investigate a hygienist who was running unauthorized searches through the state health information system. I didn't think anything of it at first." "Unauthorized how?" someone asked. He shrugged. "Looking up personal data without any clinical reason. Same individual, over and over. Claimed she was just curious about an old acquaintance." Something in my chest tightened. "Do you remember the name?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He nodded. "Vanessa Bennett." For a second, the room felt too small, too quiet. "What happens in a case like that?" Marcus asked, his tone neutral, but his hand found mine under the table. "License suspension pending investigation," his uncle replied. "If it's confirmed she intentionally violated privacy laws, she's looking at permanent revocation. Possibly more." I didn't say anything, because I already understood the rest. Vanessa had used her professional access to look me up. My address, my employer, my insurance information, everything logged, everything tracked. Everything recorded. She had built the evidence against herself, the same way I had once built a case against her. I didn't need to act. I didn't need to intervene. The system was already doing what it was designed to do.
Consequences. Quiet. Permanent. Documented.
3 weeks later, my phone rang.
Unknown number.
I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Hello? Clara." My mother's voice. Older, tired, different. "How did you get this number?" I asked. "Your cousin gave it to me," she said softly. "He didn't know." "Of course he didn't." "Clara," she continued, "please, we need to talk." I closed my eyes for a second. 3 years of silence. And now this. "What do you want?" A pause. Then, "Vanessa is not doing well. She lost her license. Adrian's gone. They're both spiraling. And I know you don't owe us anything, but she's still your sister." I leaned back against the wall. "She had a sister," I said quietly. "She chose not to act like one." "We were wrong," my mother said. The words came out fragile, careful. like something she had practiced. All of us. The way we handled everything. What we said to you. We thought we were protecting the family, but we lost you. I didn't respond, because there was nothing to say. Clara, she whispered. I miss you. I believed her. That was the hardest part. I know, I said. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Real. But it didn't change anything. I'm not coming back, I said finally. I'm not helping Vanessa. I'm not fixing what she broke. I have a family now. A husband who chose me. A daughter who needs me. Another pause. Longer this time. I understand, she said. I didn't know if she actually did, but it didn't matter. Take care of yourself, I added. Then I hung up. Marcus walked into the room a moment later. Lily balanced on his hip. Who was that? He asked. My mom. He studied my face. You okay? I looked at him, at Lily reaching toward me with tiny hands, her face lighting up like I was the only thing that mattered in her world, at the life we had built.
Carefully. Deliberately.
Without lies. Yeah, I said, and for the first time, it wasn't something I had to convince myself of. I'm okay. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 4 months later, I had to travel back east for a work conference, Leadership Summit.
Non-negotiable.
I planned everything carefully.
Flight. Hotel. Schedule. Minimal exposure.
No unnecessary stops. I almost made it through without incident. Almost. The mistake was small. A coffee shop. One I used to go to years ago. Old habit. I didn't think. I just walked in, ordered, turned, and saw her. Vanessa. She looked different, heavier, tired, like life had pressed down on her and never let up. She saw me at the same time. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she crossed the room in 3 quick steps. Clara. My name sounded strange in her voice. Vanessa. We stood there, 2 strangers with the same history. I've been trying to reach you, she said. For years. I know. I needed to say I'm sorry. I waited, not because I expected more, but because I wanted to see if she would give it. She didn't. I've changed, she said instead. Everything that happened, it ruined my life. I see that now. I see what I lost. There it was. Again, what she lost. Not what she did. Not what she chose. I nodded slowly. I believe you, I said. Her eyes filled with hope. Then maybe... No, I cut in gently. The word landed between us.
Final.
You don't get to come back into my life because you finally understand the consequences, I said. You had a sister. You chose to betray her. And when you were given a chance to fix it, you stood there and let everyone tell her she was the problem. Her face crumpled. Clara, please. I'm not angry anymore, I continued. That part is over. But you don't get access to me. Not now, not later, not ever. Tears slipped down her face. I miss you, she whispered. I looked at her, and for a moment, I saw the girl she used to be, the one who braided my hair, the one who held my hand. Then I let that version go. Take care of yourself, I said, the same words I had given my mother, the same boundary. Then I picked up my coffee, and I walked out. I didn't look back. Outside, the air was warm. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Marcus. Landed yet? I smiled. Typed back. On my way. My flight left in 4 hours. By tonight, I would be home. Not the place I used to live. Not the house I sold. But the one I chose. The one where my daughter would be waiting. The one where my husband would open the door. The one where no one had to pretend. Some people call what I did revenge. They're wrong. I didn't destroy my life. I documented the truth. And then I built something better on top of it.